The sun blazed down on the dusty streets, the silence only broken by the occasional creak of a wooden sign swaying in the wind. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is widely regarded as one of the greatest spaghetti westerns of all time, a true cinematic masterpiece. However, there are many behind-the-scenes facts that most people don't know. Secrets about the cast, an official sequel that never happened, and unexpected twists that shaped the movie's history. Back in 1965, after the success of A Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More, European audiences were hooked, but surprisingly, neither film was yet available in America. Interest was growing, so director Sergio Leone and writer Luciano Vincenzoni decided to invite two United Artists executives to Rome for a private screening of the second film. As expected, the executives were blown away. They were so impressed that they immediately offered $900,000 for the American rights, a massive amount at the time. However, there was a catch. United Artists didn't just want the rights to the first two films, they wanted a third film to be included in the deal. The executives asked Leone and Vincenzoni if they had any plans for another movie. The truth? They had no idea. But before Leone could say anything, Vincenzoni improvised. Thinking quickly, he made up a story on the spot, a tale about three outlaws caught in the middle of the Civil War, searching for a hidden fortune. He even imagined a poster in his head and boldly declared, "The film will be called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly." The executives loved it. Without a second thought, they agreed to finance the production and even promised to release the first two films in America within a year. And, just like that, a new legend was born. But things weren't going to be so easy. Clint Eastwood, who had already played the iconic Man with No Name, initially agreed to return. But when he read the script, he noticed something troubling. His screen time was shrinking. With every new film, more main characters were being introduced, slowly taking the focus away from him. Frustrated, Eastwood made a bold decision. He pulled out of the role entirely. Despite not yet being a huge star in America, Eastwood refused to be overshadowed. The studio, desperate to keep him on board, had no choice but to bend to his demands. They offered him a massive pay raise, a whopping $250,000, along with a brand new Ferrari to sweeten the deal. Eastwood reluctantly agreed, and the film moved forward. But this was just the beginning. Casting the other roles would prove to be just as challenging. With Clint Eastwood finally on board, Sergio Leone turned his attention to casting the other two main characters. The role of Tuco, the rough and cunning bandit, was initially meant for Gian Maria Volonté, the villain from the previous two films. However, after a heated on-set argument with Leone, Volonté refused to work with him again. Leone needed someone who could bring humor and menace to the role. That's when he turned to Eli Wallach, an American actor best known for The Magnificent Seven. However, Wallach was initially hesitant about working on an Italian Western. To convince him, Leone arranged a private screening of A Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More. Within minutes, Wallach was hooked. He turned to the projectionist and said, "Turn it off. I don't need to see more. I'll do the film." With Tuco's role secured, Leone focused on casting the bad. Angel Eyes, the ruthless bounty hunter. His first choice, Charles Bronson. Leone had previously wanted Bronson for the role of Colonel Mortimer in For a Few Dollars More, but Bronson was busy filming The Dirty Dozen. When Bronson turned down The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Leone approached Enrico Maria Salerno, but he also declined. With few options left, Leone reluctantly cast Lee Van Cleef, the hero from the second film, as the villain. He worried that audiences would find it strange to see Van Cleef switch from playing a noble bounty hunter to a cruel killer. But once the cameras started rolling, Van Cleef proved everyone wrong. He transformed Angel Eyes into one of the most iconic villains in Western cinema history. His cold, piercing eyes, sharp features, and chilling presence made him the perfect antagonist. Despite the film's success, shooting was brutal. Safety standards were non-existent, and several close calls nearly ended in disaster. During the infamous bridge explosion scene, Leone wanted authenticity, so he used real explosives. The bridge was rigged to blow up on his command, but a miscommunication caused it to detonate too early, destroying the bridge before any cameras were rolling. The crew stood in stunned silence, expecting Leone to explode in anger. Instead, he calmly said, "Let's go eat." The next day, the Spanish army rebuilt the bridge, and the scene was reshot without any issues. Eli Wallach also had multiple brushes with death. In the hanging scene, Wallach sat on a horse with a noose around his neck. When the crew spooked the horse, it galloped off with Wallach still hanging, his hands tied behind his back. He barely survived. In another scene, Wallach had to cut his handcuffs using a moving train. Leone reassured him it was safe, but no one realized that the train's metal steps stuck out. If Wallach had lifted his head even an inch, he would have been decapitated. During the final graveyard scene, the crew accidentally left acid in an empty soda bottle. Wallach, unaware, almost drank it but spit it out just in time. After months of grueling filming, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was released. Despite initial mixed reviews, the film became a worldwide phenomenon, earning over $38 million and cementing Clint Eastwood as a Hollywood legend. However, Eastwood wasn't entirely happy. He felt the film focused too much on Tuco, and later called the movie bloated instead of expansive. Still, he was approached for a sequel many years later, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly 2, where Tuco would hunt down Blondie's grandson for the remaining gold. Leone, however, refused. He believed that revisiting the story would ruin its legacy, so the sequel was never made. To this day, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly remains one of the most iconic westerns of all time, inspiring countless films, directors, and even video games. The man with no name may have ridden off into the sunset, but his legend, that will never die.